Hey everyone! Before we dive into this wild, gut-punching story, I've got a quick favor. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. It means the world to me, and trust me, you won't want to miss what's coming next. Now let's get into it. The bar hummed with life that chilly November night. In 2025, laughter, clinking glasses, and the low, soulful strum of a guitar player in the corner filled the air. Twinkling string lights dangled from the exposed wooden beams, casting a warm amber glow over the long, scarred table where my friends and I sat. A patchwork crew of coders, dreamers, and hustlers. It was supposed to be a celebration, my night to shine. For 7 years, I'd poured my soul into our little startup, a scrappy tech outfit. We'd clawed into existence from a damp basement, with peeling paint and a single flickering bulb. I'd coded late into the nights, my fingers numb from typing, debugged crashes no one else could unravel, and pitched to investors when our bank account was a sad string of zeros. Tonight, my best friend and co-founder Mia had promised big news. "It's your moment, Sarah," she'd said weeks ago over a hurried coffee run, her eyes sparkling with that infectious fire I'd always trusted. "You've earned this." I'd pictured it 100 times. The cheers, the pride, the validation of a promotion to CTO, a title I'd been chasing since we'd scribbled our first lines of code on a napkin. I smoothed the hem of my black sweater, the wool soft against my clammy palms, glanced around at our tight-knit team, laughing, sipping beers, alive with the buzz of our latest milestone, and let myself believe it was finally happening. Mia stood at the head of the table, tapping her beer bottle with a spoon, the sharp chime slicing through the chatter like a conductor's baton. The room quieted, all eyes swinging to her. My heart thumped in my chest, a wild rhythm I couldn't tame. "Tonight," she began, her voice bright and commanding, carrying that effortless charm that had won us our first seed funding. "I want to recognize someone who's been a game changer for us. Someone with raw talent, vision, and hustle, who's made waves in just a year here." My smile froze, a crack splintering through it. A year? I'd been here since day one. 7 years of grinding, not one. Mia turned, her grin wide and dazzling, to Jake, the cocky new hire who'd swaggered in 12 months ago with a fancy degree from Stanford. A firm handshake and a smirk that grated on me from the start. "Jake," she said, raising her bottle, "your innovation, your leadership, it's blown us away. I'm thrilled to announce you're our new Chief Technology Officer. Congrats." The table erupted in applause, a wave of sound that crashed over me. I sat there stunned, my fingers tightening around my glass until the cold bit into my skin, the condensation slick against my knuckles. My throat closed up, a lump I couldn't swallow. As I forced a smile, tight, brittle, fake, clapping along while Jake stood, grinning like he'd single-handedly invented the cloud. This couldn't be real. I felt the room tilt, the lights blurring into streaks. As Mia glanced my way, her expression casual, almost distracted, like she hadn't just gutted me with a rusty blade. "Oh, and Sarah," she added, her tone light. An afterthought tossed out like crumbs. "You're the backbone of this team. We couldn't do it without you." That was it, a throwaway line. A pat on the head after 7 years of blood, sweat, and unshakable loyalty. I swallowed hard, the beer sour on my tongue, and lifted my glass, my voice a croak, to Jake, well deserved. Mia nodded, pleased, her eyes already back on him. But then she leaned toward Jake and said, loud enough for me to hear over the fading claps, "You're already outpacing her, man. Keep it up." Laughter rippled around the table, sharp and cutting. Jake smirked, mumbling, "Oh, come on." But the damage was done. A knife twisted deep in my chest, the blade serrated with humiliation. I laughed too. What else could I do? Sob in front of them? Scream at her to explain why she'd dangled this dream in front of me for months, only to yank it away and hand it to a guy who couldn't even spell commit. Without a Git tutorial? Beg her to see me? Really see me, after all we'd built together? Instead, I sipped my drink, the bitterness mirroring the storm brewing inside, a tempest of hurt, rage, and something colder, sharper. The night dragged on. I smiled through gritted teeth, chatted about nothing, toasted Jake's brilliant future. But every word felt like ash, every glance at Mia a fresh stab. When it finally ended, I stepped into the crisp night air, the bar's noise fading behind me, the streetlights casting long, jagged shadows on the wet pavement. My hand shook as I pulled out my phone, opened my email, and typed with trembling fingers. Subject, resignation, Sarah Miller. Dear Mia, attached is my resignation, effective immediately. Best, Sarah. I attached the letter I'd drafted months ago, just in case. A paranoid little safety net I'd never thought I'd need, and hit send without a second thought. Relief washed over me, sharp and sudden, cutting through the fog, but I wasn't finished. Mia was about to learn what happens when you betray the wrong person, when you underestimate the one who's been holding it all together. Let me take you back, because this isn't just about that night. It's about the years that led me there, the trust I'd poured into Mia, the cracks I'd ignored until they swallowed me whole. I'm Sarah Miller, 34, a coder with a knack for turning chaos into systems. A girl who grew up in a sleepy Oregon town dreaming of something bigger. Mia and I met in college, junior year at Oregon State, in a dingy computer lab that smelled of burnt coffee and desperation. She was the dreamer, all wild energy and big ideas, her hair a mess of curls, her laugh loud enough to drown out the hum of ancient PCs. I was the doer, quiet but steady, the one who could take her half-baked schemes and make them breathe. We bonded over late-night study sessions, her sketching app mock-ups on napkins, me coding prototypes until dawn. One night, over a pile of cheap ramen in her dorm, she grabbed my arm, eyes blazing. Sarah, let's build something real, a platform for freelancers, something to shake up the gig economy. You and me, 50-50 forever. I believed her, hooked by her vision, her faith in us. That was the start. We launched in her parents' basement, a damp cave with moldy carpet and a single flickering bulb swinging from the ceiling. I'd hunch over a thrift store laptop, its fan whining like a dying animal, coding the first version of our app while Mia paced, pitching to anyone with a pulse, friends, professors, random guys at bars. Those early days were brutal. 18-hour marathons, ramen for every meal, rejection letters piling up like unpaid bills. I'd debug crashes at 3 a.m., my eyes burning from the screen's glare, while Mia slept off her latest pitch flop on a sagging couch. Once our server crashed right before a demo. She was out schmoozing. So I pulled an all-nighter, rewriting the backend from scratch, my hands shaking from too much Red Bull. We made it work, barely. By year 3, we had traction, users trickled in, then flooded, revenue crept up. And we moved into a tiny office with mismatched chairs and a coffee maker that spat more grounds than brew. I hired our first devs, Tim, a shy kid with a knack for UI, Priya, a firecracker who could optimize anything, trained them, built the backbone of our app while Mia charmed investors with her dazzling smile and relentless hustle. We hit 1 million users by year 5, and I still remember that night, us on the office roof, her hugging me under a string of Christmas lights we'd strung up, whispering, "Couldn't have done it without you. Sarah, we're unstoppable. I thought that was us. Unbreakable, a duo forged in the fire of those lean years. But cracks started creeping in, slow and insidious. Mia took solo meetings with VCs, brushing it off as just networking when I asked. She'd come back with vague updates. They love us. Don't worry, while I kept the app running, fixing bugs, scaling servers as our user base ballooned. 2 years ago, we'd clashed with Ethan Brooks, our first investor, a sharp-eyed tech vet who'd pumped in $50,000 to get us off the ground. Ethan liked me, called me the real brains, but he and Mia butted heads over strategy. She wanted flash, he wanted stability. She forced him out, buying his shares with our first profit, smirking as he left. "We don't need him," she'd said. I'd nodded, loyal as ever, though his parting words stuck with me. "Don't let her forget you, Sarah." Last year, she hired Jake without asking me, announcing it in a team email like it was a done deal. "He's got fresh ideas, Sarah. We need that," she'd said when I confronted her, my voice tight. Jake was slick, tall, polished, with a Stanford pedigree and a habit of taking credit for tweaks to my work. I'd vent to Mia, how he'd push half-baked features, how he'd lean on my code, then strut around like he'd built it, and she'd laugh. "You're paranoid." "He's just ambitious." I ignored the sting, swallowed my pride, kept pushing. She'd promised me CTO last spring, over coffee at our favorite dive, the one with sticky tables and a jukebox that only played Springsteen. "It's yours, Sarah," she'd said, squeezing my hand. "Formal announcement soon, just wait." I'd clung to that, poured even more into the company, mentoring Tim and Priya, rewriting our API for speed, staying late while Mia and Jake grabbed drinks with investors. I believed my time was coming. That loyalty paid off. That night at the bar shattered it all. Monday morning, I walked into our office, a sleek space we'd moved into last year, all glass walls and exposed brick for the last time. The vibe was off. The receptionist, Clara, avoided my eyes, her usual chirpy, "Morning," replaced with a tight nod. The devs whispered by the coffee machine, their voices low, darting glances my way. Jake sat at my old desk, already claiming it. His laptop open to code I'd written, lines I'd bled over. My resignation had hit. Mia's inbox at 2 a.m. Saturday. She hadn't replied. But I knew she'd seen it. The read receipt glowed like a silent accusation. I settled at a spare station near the window, the city gray and restless beyond the glass. Sipped my coffee, black, bitter, and waited for her move. Right on cue, her office door flew open, banging against the wall. "Sarah, my office now." Her voice was sharp, panicked, a pitch I'd never heard from her. Heads turned. The room going silent as a graveyard. I stood, smoothed my jeans, and walked in, my boots clicking on the hardwood, the door clicking shut behind me like a guillotine. Mia sat at her desk, my resignation letter printed out in front of her, her face a storm of shock and fury, her curls wild like she'd been tugging at them. "You're quitting?" she said, her voice incredulous, almost a shout. "Yep," I replied, sitting across from her, hands folded in my lap, calm as a still lake. Effective immediately. "Why?" she demanded, leaning forward, her knuckles white against the desk. "This is out of nowhere. We didn't talk about this." I let out a dry, hollow laugh. "We didn't talk about Jake's promotion either, but here we are." Her jaw tightened, a muscle twitching. "That wasn't personal. Sarah, he's killing it. His updates tripled our engagement in months. Data doesn't lie. He's building on my code." I shot back, my voice steady but edged with steel. 7 years, Mia. I've been here since the basement. Nights I didn't sleep. Crashes I fixed alone. Pitches I wrote when you were hungover. You gave it to a guy who's been here a year. She flinched but rallied, her eyes narrowing. You're vital, Sarah. You know that. Jake's just... He's got the vision we need right now. The spark. Vision? I raised an eyebrow, leaning in. Or the charm you think I lack? You promised me CTO, months of hints, coffee chats. It's your moment. Was that all a lie to keep me grinding? She ran a hand through her hair, flustered, strands catching in her fingers. I didn't lie. Plans changed. I thought you'd understand. Roll with it. Understand being humiliated? I cut in, my voice rising despite myself. You laughed in my face, Mia. Told me to learn from him like I'm some intern. Her eyes darted away, landing on the letter, then back to me. I didn't mean it like that. Look, stay, we'll figure something out. A raise, a new title, co-CTO even? No, I said firm, cutting her off like a blade through thread. You don't get to fix this after I'm gone. You only value me now because I'm leaving. She slammed her hand on the desk, the sound echoing. You're throwing away 7 years. Where are you even going, some competitor? You'll regret this. I smiled, cool and calm, relishing the shift in power. Not a competitor. Remember Ethan Brooks? Her face paled, her breath catching. Ethan was our first investor, a tech guru with a Rolodex of Silicon Valley heavyweights. He'd liked me, trusted me, but Mia had forced him out 2 years ago after their egos clashed. He's launching a new venture, I said, savoring her reaction, the way her eyes widened. Offered me CTO months ago. Full control, equity, the works. I said no, loyalty to you to this. But Friday night, after you gutted me, I called him. Accepted on the spot. Mia's mouth opened, then closed. Shock rippling across her features like a stone hitting water. Ethan's company? She whispered, her voice small. Yep, start next week. I stood, brushing off my hands like I was dusting off the last of her hold on me. You thought I was replaceable? Mia, turns out you're the one who's not. I walked out, her silence ringing in my ears, a heavy, stunned quiet. The office buzzed as I packed my stuff, pens I'd chewed during late nights. A photo of me and Mia from year 1. Arms around each other under a neon sign, a plant I'd nursed back to life after Tim overwatered it. Whispers spread like wildfire. Tim shot me a sad nod, Priya a quiet thumbs up. Jake avoided my gaze, hunched over his screen, pretending to type. I forwarded my resignation to the team. Subject, resignation, Sarah Miller. Effective immediately, I'm stepping down. It's been a ride. Best Sarah, and hit send, watching the inbox flood with WTF replies. The chaos was just beginning. 10 minutes later, Mia called an urgent meeting in the conference room, her voice shrill through the glass. Sarah's leaving, but we're fine. Jake's got this. Doubt hung thick in the air. I felt it as I stepped into the elevator. My box under my arm, the doors sliding shut on 7 years of my life. Monday at Ethan's startup was a revelation. The office was small but alive. Whiteboards scribbled with ideas. A ping-pong table in the corner. A team of 10 buzzing with hunger to build something new. Ethan greeted me with a grin, his gray hair tousled, his handshake firm. Sarah, you're leading tech here. Full control, CTO from day 1. What do you say? No games, no tests, just trust. The kind I'd forgotten existed. Let's do it, I said. And dove in. Meetings with engineers who actually listened. Code reviews where my ideas weren't dismissed. A real office with a view of the city's skyline. The Space Needle piercing the clouds. It felt right. Like slipping into a jacket that fit after years of wearing one too tight. 2 days later, my phone buzzed with a text from Tim. Tim, Mia's freaking out. Apps crashing. Jake doesn't know your backend. Servers are toast. I smirked, leaning back in my chair. Of course. I'd built that system from scratch, layered it with fail-safes only I understood. A labyrinth of my own design. Another text pinged. Tim, 2 big clients asked for you today. Pissed you're gone. I'd nurtured those accounts. Nexlify, a gig platform. Worksphere, a payroll giant. Spending late calls smoothing their glitches. Earning their trust. They'd been my lifeline as much as the company's. By week's end, Ethan's firm had calls from both. Sarah, they want to jump ship, Ethan said, grinning over a cup of coffee. Your call, bring 'em in. I didn't poach them, they came willingly. Nexlify's CEO saying, things are a mess without you. Worksphere's VP adding, we don't trust Jake. One by one, they signed on, and I watched our roster grow while Mia's crumbled. A slow bleed she couldn't staunch. A month later, Tim updated me. Mia's losing it. Jake's floundering, apps a mess, users dropping. Board's pissed about client losses. Then the kicker, an email from Mia. Subject, can we talk? Sarah, I messed up. We need you back. Name your terms. Please meet me. Mia. I laughed, bitter and sweet, the sound echoing in my quiet office. She'd ignored me until it hurt her. And now she was begging, her empire cracking at the seams. I met her that Monday, back at our old office. Now quieter, tense, the energy drained. She looked wrecked, dark circles under her eyes, hands fidgeting with a pen, her usual swagger gone. Sarah, she started, voice shaky. I was wrong. Jake's not cutting it. Apps down half the time. Clients are gone. Come back, CTO, equity, whatever you want. I leaned back, studying her, the woman I'd once called my sister. 7 years, Mia. I gave you everything. Nights I didn't sleep. Weekends I coded through. My sanity when we were broke. You promised me that role, then humiliated me in front of everyone. I know, she said, eyes wet, tears brimming but not falling. I screwed up. I thought Jake was the future, his flash, his pitch. But it's you. It's always been you. Too late, I said, cool as ice. If I'd stayed, would you have offered this? Or is it just because your ship's sinking? And I'm the only one who can bail you out? She faltered, silent, her gaze dropping to the desk. And that was my answer. You didn't see me until I walked away, I said, standing, my shadow falling over her. I'm with Ethan now, building something real where I'm not an afterthought. You should have valued me when you had me. I left her there, the door shutting on 7 years with a soft thud. Weeks later, Tim texted, Mia's out. Board fired her after Nexlify pulled their last contract. Companies bleeding, might sell. I sipped coffee in my new office, the city sprawling below, and smiled, a quiet, fierce thing. She'd thought I was expendable. Turns out she was wrong. But the story didn't end there. 2 months in at Ethan's, Priya called. Priya, the firecracker dev I'd trained, who'd stayed quiet when I left. Sarah, she said, her voice low, urgent. I've got something. Can we meet? We did at a diner halfway between Tacoma and Seattle, the kind with cracked vinyl booths and coffee that tasted like burnt regret. She slid a USB drive across the table, her eyes darting. Found this on Mia's old laptop. She left it behind when they canned her. It's emails, Sarah, between her and Jake from last year. I plugged it into my laptop later that night, the glow illuminating my apartment. Hundreds of messages. Mia and Jake plotting months before the promotion. Mia. Sarah's too stuck in the weeds. Needs someone flashy for the board. Jake. I'll play it up. She'll never see it coming. They'd planned it, kept me in the dark, used my work to prop him up, strung me along with promises they never meant to keep. One email gutted me, Mia. She's loyal to a fault, won't leave even if we screw her over. I stared at it, my chest tight, rage and vindication warring inside me. I took it to Ethan. This could tank them, he said, scanning the files. Lawsuit material, breach of fiduciary duty, maybe fraud if they pitched your work as his. I shook my head. Don't need a suit. Just want them to know I know. I sent Mia one last email. Subject found something. Mia checked the attached. Loyalty's a funny thing. Turns out I wasn't the only one blind. Sarah. I attached a screenshot of her loyal to a fault line. Hit send and watched it fly into the void. No reply came, but I didn't need one. Priya texted days later. Mia's ghosted everyone. Jake's scrambling, might jump ship too. The company limped on, a shell of what we'd built, while Ethan's venture soared. New clients, a feature launch I led, a team that saw me. So that's my story. Loyalty betrayed, a fight for worth, a victory I carved out of the wreckage. What would you have done? Stayed and fought? Walked away sooner? Dug for the truth like I did? Let me know in the comments. I'm dying to hear. And hey, if this hit you, do me a favor. Subscribe if you haven't yet. More raw, real tales of grit, betrayal, and triumph are coming your way. See you in the next one.